Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Michaela. I make videos about art, hobbies, creativity, and I read a lot of books. So in this video, I wanted to take the time and go through some books that I've picked up over the last few months. I've unfortunately been a little unemployed, so I've had a lot of time on my hands, and my dear friends have been keeping me company and going on fun little book excursions with me. A lot of these I picked up on sale, so I did not pay full price for like any of these. And I bought them all from various places around the internet and in person. So if I remember where I got them from as I go, I will let you know. So I have a really bad habit of picking up my recommendations from the internet, BookTube, BookTok, and then completely forgetting the summaries of the books that were explained to me in the videos. But I remember the titles or the covers, or remember it like piquing my interest. So that's the general vibe of all of these. And because I probably don't remember the premise of any of them, I'll read the backs of the book. So starting off yesterday, I went to Barnes with one of my friends and I picked up The Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Canas. This is tagged under suspense, and I'll read the back real quick. As the daughter of a rancher in 1840s Mexico, Nina knows a thing or two about monsters. Her home has long been threatened by tensions with settlers from the north, but something more sinister lurks near that ranch at night. Something that drains men of their blood and leaves them for dead. Something that once attacked Nina 9 years ago. Believing Nina dead, Nestor has been on the run from his grief ever since, moving from ranch to ranch, working as a vaquero. No amount of drink can dispel the night terrors of sharp teeth. No woman can erase his childhood sweetheart from his mind. When the United States invades Mexico in 1846, the two are brought abruptly together on the road of war. Nina, I can't read Spanish, I'm sorry. Cuarendera, a healer striving to prove her worth to her father so that he does not marry her off to a stranger, and Nestor as a member of the auxiliary cavalry of ranchers and vaqueros. But the shock of their reunion, and Nina's rage at Nestor for seemingly abandoning her long ago, is quickly overshadowed by the appearance of a nightmare made flesh. And unless Nina and Nestor work on their past and face the future together, neither will survive to see the dawn. Up next, I picked up Women Who Run with the Wolves. After this election, I ran to the internet in search for books that might help make me feel better. And I came across this, I think it's called Women Who Run with the Wolves, Myths and Stories of the Wild Woman Archetype. I think it's just like a bunch of different short stories, but it was really well praised online, and the reviews were really good, so it just spoke to me, but I'll read it real quick. Within every woman there lives a powerful force, filled with good instincts, passionate creativity, and ageless knowing. She is the wild woman, who represents the instinctual nature of women, but she is an endangered species. In Women Who Run with the Wolves, Dr. Estes unfolds rich intercultural myths, fairy tales, and stories, many from her own family, in order to help women reconnect with the fierce, healthy, visionary attributes of this instinctual nature. Through the stories and commentaries in this remarkable book, we retrieve, examine, love, and understand the wild woman and hold her against our deep psyches as one who is both magic and medicine. Dr. Estes has created a new lexicon for describing the female psyche. Fertile and life-giving, it is a psychology of woman in the truest sense, a knowing of the soul. And that is Woman Who Runs with the Wolves. So I will be reading this as I read other things, because this is very dense. I think this is one of the mass market paperbacks, but before the index, it is 559 pages. So yeah, she looks small, but she ain't. Okay, next, I picked up Once Upon a Broken Heart. I bought this cover from Blackwell's. I live in the United States, and this is the UK cover. I am a graphic designer in my career, so I do judge books by their covers. This channel, we judge books by their covers. Anyway, but One of my very good friends recommended this book really, really highly, and I decided to pick it up. And so since I was buying it, I wanted to buy it in a cover that I enjoyed. So here she is. But I will read the back of this one now. For as long as she can remember, Evangeline Fox has believed in happily ever after, until she learns that the love of her life is about to marry another, and her dreams are shattered. Desperate to stop the wedding and heal her wounded heart, Evangeline strikes a deal with the charismatic but wicked Prince of Hearts. In exchange for his help, he asks for 3 kisses to be given at the time and place of his choosing. But after Evangeline's first promised kiss, she learns that bargaining with an immortal is a dangerous game, and that the Prince of Hearts wants far more from her than she pledged. He has plans for Evangeline. Plans that will either end in the greatest happily ever after or the most exquisite tragedy. And everyone that I know that's read this has like ripped through it, so I can't wait to read it. And now I know that reading the backs of all of these books is going to get me really psyched to pick one. So in the comments down below, let me know which one I should read. By the time this video goes up though, however, I probably will have read one of these, so maybe guess which one I read. Next up is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is a thriller, I believe. Yes, technological thriller. In case you guys didn't know, because I didn't know this for the longest time, but the back of the book where it has the price, it'll get most of the books I've seen have the genre on it. So if you're like trying to organize your books, it's helpful. I will read the back. Those are the last words Jason Desson hears before the kidnapper knocks him unconscious, before he awakens to find himself strapped to a gurney, surrounded by strangers in hazmat suits. Before a man he's never met smiles down at him and says, "Welcome back, my friend." In this world he's woken up to, Jason's life is not the one he knows. His wife is not his wife. His son was never born. And Jason is not an ordinary college professor, but a celebrated genius who has achieved something remarkable, something impossible. Is it this life or the other that's the dream? And even if the home he remembers is real, how will Jason make it back to the family he loves? I also like picking up books that have media attached to it. So I didn't know that this was an Apple TV show or movie or had media to it when I picked it up, because there was a sticker over this. So that's exciting. I like knowing that I have something else to watch after I read something, because I don't necessarily like picking up books just because they have a movie, but I like finding out that they have something afterwards. You know what I mean? Okay, next up is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I picked this up from Half Price Books or Second and Charles, which is another like used new bookstore. This one I got used. I paid $6 for it. Anyway, 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. 7 days to fall in love, 15 years to forget, and 7 days to get it all back again. When Ava Mercy, a single mother and best-selling erotica writer, and the enigmatic award-winning novelist Shane Hall meet at a literary event in New York, sparks fly. What no one knows is that 15 years earlier, teenage Ava and Shane spent 1 week together, madly in love. While they may pretend to be strangers, they can't deny their chemistry. Over the next 7 days, amidst a steamy Brooklyn summer, Ava and Shane reconnect, but Ava is wary of the man who broke her heart and wants Shane out of the city so her life can return to normal. Before he disappears, though, she needs a few questions to be answered. Next is Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. I picked this book up yesterday from Barnes, and while I was like walking around, I had this other woman walking around, you know, browsing alongside me, and she like stopped me to tell me about how much she loved this book. So, rave reviews from the public of my local Barnes. I will read the back of the book. When global climate change and economic crisis lead to social chaos in the early 2020s, California becomes full of dangers, from pervasive water shortage to masses of vagabonds who will do anything to live to see another day. 15-year-old Lauren Olami, I am dyslexic. It's already a challenge to read words. 15-year-old Lauren Olamina lives inside a gated community with her preacher father, family, and neighbors, sheltered from the surrounding anarchy. In a society where any vulnerability is at risk, she suffers from hyper-empathy, a debilitating sensitivity to others' emotions. Precocious and clear-eyed Lauren must make her voice heard in order to protect her loved ones from the imminent disasters her small community stubbornly ignores. But what begins as a fight for survival soon leads to something much more, the birth of a new faith and a startling vision of human destiny. I believe I got this recommendation also from a TikTok. Yeah. Okay, yeah, because Octavia Butler wrote this in 1993. Very excited. Next up is The Breakup Tour by Emily Wimberly and Austin Sigmund Broca. I bought this for obvious reasons. You know, the Swiftie in me couldn't resist. So, the back of this book, Riley Wynn went from a promising singer-songwriter to a superstar overnight, thanks to her breakup song concept album and its unforgettable lead single. When Riley's ex-husband claims the hit song is about him, she does something she hasn't in 10 years and calls Max Harcourt her college boyfriend and the real inspiration for the song of the summer. Max hasn't spoken to Riley since the relationship ended. He's content with managing the retirement home his family owns, but it's not the life filled with music that he dreamed of. When Riley asks him to go public as her songwriting muse, he agrees on one condition: he'll join her band on tour. As they perform across the country, Max and Riley start to realize that while they hit some wrong notes in the past, their future could hold incredible things, and their rekindled relationship will either last forever or go down in flames. Excited to read that one. Next is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This was a rec from Lexi, aka Newly Nova, here on YouTube. She talked about it in one of her videos, and she just seemed very passionate about it. I'll read the back now. This is the way the world ends for the last time. It starts with the Great Red Rift across the heart of the world's sole continent, spewing ash that bolts out the sun. It starts with death, with a murdered son and a missing daughter. It starts with betrayal, and long dormant wounds rising up to fester. This is the stillness, a land familiar with catastrophe, where the power of earth is wielded as a weapon, and there is no mercy. Next is All My Rage by Saba Tahir. I have wanted to pick up this book for a really long time. Lahore, Pakistan, then. Misbah is a dreamer and storyteller, newly married to Tawfiq in an arranged match after their young life is shaken by tragedy. They come to the United States and open the Clouds Rest Inn motel, hoping for a new start. Juniper, California, now. Slaudahan and Noor are more than best friends. They are family. Growing up as outcasts in the small desert town of Juniper, California, they understand each other the way no one else does, until the fight, which destroys their bond with the swift fury of a star exploding. Now Sal scrambles to run the family motel as his mother Mishba's health fails, and his grieving father loses himself to alcoholism. Noor, meanwhile, walks a harrowing tightrope, working at her wrathful uncle's store while hiding the fact that she's applying to college so she can escape him and Juniper forever. When Sal's attempt to save the motel spirals out of control, he and Noor must then ask themselves what friendship is worth and what it takes to defeat the monsters in their past and the ones in their midst. Next up is A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. I think this one is like one of the mandatory weird girl books here in the book community. So wanted to take the time to pick this one up, and I will read the back. Food writer Dorothy Daniels loves what she does. Discerning, meticulous, and very, very smart, Dorothy's clear mastery of the culinary arts makes it likely that she could, on any given night, whip up a more inspired dish than any one of the chefs she writes about. Dorothy loves sex as much as she loves food, and while she has struggled to find a long-term partner that can keep up with her, she makes the best of her single life, frequently traveling from Manhattan to Italy for a taste of both. But there is something within Dorothy that's different from everyone else, and having suppressed it long enough, she starts to embrace what makes Dorothy uniquely, terrifyingly herself. Recounting her life from a seemingly idyllic farm-to-table childhood, the heights of her career, to the moment she plunges an ice pick into a man's neck on Fire Island, Dorothy Daniels shows what happens when a woman finally embraces her superiority. A satire of early foodieism, a critique of how gender is defined, and a showcase of virtuoso storytelling. Chelsea G. Summers, A Certain Hunger introduces us to the food world's most charming psychopath and an exciting new voice in fiction. So like I said, weird girl fiction. Next up is Hood Feminism, Notes from the Women That a Moment Forgot by Mickey Kendall. Today's feminist movement has a glaring blind spot, and paradoxically, it is women. Mainstream feminists rarely talk about meeting basic needs as a feminist issue, argues Mickey Kendall, but food scarcity, access to quality education, safe neighborhoods, a living wage, and medical care are all feminist issues. All too often, however, the focus is not on basic survival for the many, but on increasing privilege for the few. How can we stand in solidarity as a movement? Kendall asks when there is the distinct likelihood that some women are oppressing others. In her searing collection of essays, Mickey Kendall takes aim at the legitimacy of the modern feminist movement, arguing that it has chronically failed to address the needs of all but a few women. An unforgettable debut, Kendall has written a ferocious clarion, I don't know if that's how you say that, a ferocious clarion call to all would-be feminists to live out the true mandate of the movement in thought and in deed. Now I have Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder. This was a recommendation from one of my friends as well. We'll read the back. An ambitious mother puts her art career on hold to stay at home with her newborn son, but the experience does not match her imagination. 2 years later, she steps into the bathroom for a break from her toddler's demands only to discover a dense patch of hair on the back of her neck. In the mirror, her canines suddenly look sharper. Her husband, who travels for work 5 days a week, casually dismisses her fears from faraway hotel rooms. As the mother's symptoms intensify, her temptation to give in to her new dog impulses peaks, and she struggles to keep her alter canine identity a secret. Seeking a cure at the library, she discovers a mysterious academic tome that becomes her Bible, a field guide to magical women, a mythical intergraphy, and meets a group of mommies involved in a multi-level marketing scheme who may also be more than what they seem. An outrageously original novel of ideas about art, power, and womanhood wrapped up in a satirical fairy tale, Rachel Yoder's Night Bitch will make you want to howl in laughter and recognition. And finally, Kristen Hanna, The Nightingale. I read Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna earlier this year and really enjoyed it. So I wanted to pick up another one of her titles, and I was having a hard time choosing, so The Nightingale. With courage, grace, and powerful insight, best-selling author Kristen Hanna captures epic panorama of World War II and illuminates an intimate part of history seldom seen, the Woman's War. The Nightingale tells the stories of two sisters separated by years and experience, by ideals, passion, and circumstance, each embarking on her own dangerous path towards survival, love, and freedom in German-occupied war-torn France. A heartbreakingly beautiful novel that celebrates the resilience of the human spirit and the durability of women. It is a novel for everyone, a novel for a lifetime. So, I forgot some books in my book haul the other day. So, picking back up from where I left off, I picked up the special edition copy of The Bloody Chamber. It's a short story collection, I believe, by Angela Carter. But I've heard really good things. It's a classic, and I'm a really big fan of thrillers, horror, that whole genre. So I wanted to pick it up. Heard really good things about this book called Fantastic Land by Mike Brockovin. I will read the back. Since the 1970s, Fantastic Land has been the theme park where fun is guaranteed. But when a hurricane ravages the Florida coast and isolates the park, the employees find it anything but fun. 5 weeks later, the authorities who rescue the survivors encounter a scene of horror. Photos soon emerge online of heads on spikes outside of the rides and viscera and human bones littering the gift shops, breaking records for hits, views, likes, clicks, and shares. How could a group of survivors, mostly teenagers, commit such terrible acts? I picked this up because I was looking for stories similar to Yellow Jackets. And then lastly, I picked up the first 3 books in the Stormlight Archives series. Anyone that knows who Brandon Sanderson is, I don't need to explain. The next book in the series is coming out in a couple weeks, so I've just been seeing a lot of talking about it online, and it was time. I don't know how soon I'm gonna get to this, but it's definitely on the itinerary. So, very excited to start this. that seems like the end of it, besties. Hope I gave you some new titles to go out and try for yourselves. Like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching all the way until the end if you've made it this far. And as always, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye!